From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. And it is time for the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTimeAngles. And boy, oh boy, you guys already know it's Friday. So, we had ourselves a jam-packed day today. We had ourselves the NFL Bet Exchange first, and then we have this, the PrimeTimeAngles. So let's go ahead and get into our first topic. The Browns and Eagles had no winner. The game ends in a 18-18 tie. Who made the most impact and helped their chances? Well, there's some guys on the Eagles, very unfortunate situations. I can't think of their names right now, but I was watching the game last night, and both of those gentlemen were carted off the field. So hopefully, Godspeed, get those guys back on the field eventually. If not, hey, you made it for a bit, but it's probably the end. You know what I mean? It's time to look for another occupation because the NFL is a tough sport, man. And especially when you're grinding to make the team and you get hurt like that, it's always kind of a sad sight to see. So last night, DTR was probably the most impressive player other than a guy that's just absolutely crushing it right now at the wide receiver position in Hawkins, who had 6 catches and 124 yards last night to lead all receivers in the game. And I think that pretty much, I know that he's he's a guy that is on the border of making the team and getting cut. But I think last night for Austin Watkins, that probably was the sealer for him to make this roster because he was by far the best player on the field last night. And actually, let me take that back. He had 7 catches last night and was that went for 139 yards, and he scored Cleveland's only touchdown. Also, rookie Cedric Tillman was very good last night as well, too. He had 2 catches, and that went for 50 yards, his longest catch of the night being a 36-yard catch. So when you look at Tillman's situation, it's pretty much a guy that you see possibly being a very key asset to Deshaun Watson moving forward, and say, hey, possibly if DTR gets some playing time, that will probably be his favorite receiver because they have a history going all the way back to their Las Vegas days when they were both attending the same high school and had the same situation, star quarterback, star wide receiver. So they have the chemistry there, and you saw a lot of that last night. But it seemed like Hawkins had chemistry with every quarterback that the Browns had. The guy just figured out ways to get open, and when he did get open, he was able to get down the field and get some yak after that as well, too. So that was a very fun sight to see. The Browns' defense was also amazing last night. They had a great effort last night. They wound up getting 3 sacks in the first half, and this came from guys that possibly are that are really fighting for a roster spot. But last night they showed up. They had a pretty good half, and when you look at it, they had 6 sacks last night, so that was huge. That was a big deal. And for the second week in a row, they had a safety. So there's things working out in the right direction for the Browns. And then when you look at the rushing game, Demetric Felton led all rushers for the Browns last night. John Kelly, a guy that we all been kind of excited to see what he's about. He's been pretty good in the first 2 games, but yesterday he did lose a fumble at the goal line, and that's possibly the difference on the Browns actually winning this game yesterday. But as we all know, it's preseason. It's no big deal. Now, when you look at the Eagles side of things, it looks like that McKee outdid Mariota last night. McGee was 10 for 18, threw for a touchdown, but he got sacked 3 times last night as well, too. Buddy had a 100.9 QBR last night, too. Trey Sermon, the former Ohio State standout running back, had a 33-yard touchdown last night and 54 yards on the ground. And they got a good contribution from Tyree Jackson for a tight end. Guy used to be a wide receiver actually in the NFL for a bit, and he actually wound up getting himself pretty good moments last night as well too. Got a 35-yard haul last night and finished up with 41 yards. So, you got a lot of good things going on, but it was more about evaluation than anything. But when you looked at the evaluation, you say to yourself that you think that DTR will possibly be the backup quarterback to Deshaun Watson, and then you look at Hawkins and Tillman, and you say to yourself that those two guys have to be the two that are behind Peoples-Jones and Cooper going into the season on the depth chart. And when they throw out the 4 wide receiver sets, those two better be out there week 1, because those two are going to be the difference in the Browns being a very good, efficient passing team, or just a team that has to rely on Nick Chubb 70% of the game. I know that they want to have balance, and if they can get both the best of both worlds, trouble. And the Eagles got the best roster in the NFL pretty much. They're a team that has a lot going for them in the right direction. So, at the end of the day, they'll be who they are, but they know that they got a tough season ahead of them as well too. But this was an evaluation. They didn't have any of their true starters in there. It was more about evaluating their brand new rookies, a couple first-year guys, a couple second-year guys, and the guys that are trying to get those final spots on the roster. So the Eagles pretty much are set at every position, but last night they had to play a game, and they looked pretty decent for the home crowd last night. I can say that. So we move forward. Let's go ahead and talk about some college football. And is Utah repeating as the Pac-12 champs this year, or was that just last year? Well, you got a tougher Pac-12 this year. You got more at stake in the Pac-12 this year. You have a conference now that finds itself dissolving at the end of this. It's a sad day on the West Coast. It's a sad day in the Pac-12. A decade ago, Utah came with high hopes that they were leaving a mid-major conference at the time, which was the Mountain West, to finally be a part of a power conference and be reunited with old foes. That being teams like Oregon, teams like Arizona State, teams like Arizona, being back in the fold with those squads. And what happened is that Utah pretty much got acclimated as quick as possible. Colorado, on the other hand, took them some time. They had a few moments there, but Utah has always been pretty consistent in the Pac-12, and it seemed like a perfect fit. Now, in the final year of the Pac-12, they come in as the defending champions of the conference, and they're looking at moving towards the Big 12, a conference now that has became one of the power conferences. Because now I think that we're down to 3 power conferences. Let's keep it real, possibly 4, and it's exactly the way that they wanted it. Now Utah is headed to the Big 12, but it's all about the Pac-12 this year. And Utah is in a position right now to put themselves in the national conversation, because if they run the table this year, you can't hold them back from the Final Four. You truly can't. And Utah is a perfect candidate to be a team that can absolutely play a spoiler in that Final Four as well, too. They don't want teams like Utah a part of the mix, because Utah will go in there and beat you. Like, literally, they're not worried about you being Alabama. They're not worried about you being Georgia. They're not worried about any of that. If they can find something where they can get tougher than you in a game, they'll wind up beating you. And that's the thing. These are the teams that they really try to avoid. I'm not trying to say that Utah is a great program. I'm just saying when Utah gets inspired, they can beat you. Ask Ohio State. Yes, they won that game in the Rose Bowl, but Ohio State had to do everything possible. It's damn near like they had to hit a cheat code to get back in that game. At one point, they were losing 28-3. So it's very tough for people to really want to back Utah because they know how Utah can get. Utah can turn this in, go from having a season where they start off 6-0 and finish up 8-4. Or they can have a season where they start off 0-2 and wind up finishing 10-2. This year, Utah has the look of a team that can be a national power because right now they figured out how to maneuver in the Pac-12 on the football side. And you know what? Once you learn how to maneuver on the football side in the Pac-12, you control your own destiny. And at the end of the day, this team is still the kryptonite for USC. They beat them twice last year. Yeah, one game was a fluky dookie situation at home, but the next game was an absolute shed beating that they put on USC. Yeah, they went down by 2 touchdowns, but that didn't stop them from absolutely destroying USC. And USC was a heavy, heavy favorite in that game to win, to move forward to the Final Four, and none of that happened. So Utah is a team that's very confident in what they can be this year. But they know it's going to take a lot for them to get to their end goal. And that's beating teams like UCLA. That's not being upended by an old rival in Arizona. There's a lot of factors that play into having the perfect season for Utah. But Utah has a lot working in their favor right now. And as they move forward to the Big 12, they want to really send themselves off with a message that mission was accomplished going to the Pac-12. So with that, let's go ahead and move forward, and let's talk about the Stanford situation. Stanford, another Pac-12 team that absolutely got left out of the poaching of teams from the Pac-12. I say poaching because you have the Big 10 take 4, and then you had the Big 12 take 4. So now you're down to 4 teams. And then pretty much the ACC said, you know what, we got to jump in this thing because we need to match what these other conferences are doing. But we don't want all 4 of them. We're going to call up. We're going to see, hey, Cal, Stanford, why don't you guys apply for it? But let's say this. Stanford has taken a step even further. Stanford wants to be a part of the ACC so bad that they're willing to accept lesser TV money. Is this a smart move? You look at Stanford, and Stanford's saying that I saw it the other day. Stanford said that they want to be in the ACC. They're willing to take lesser TV money. They're willing to not even accept TV. They're willing to even go without them being a part of any big portion of any money that's coming into the conference. They just want to be a part of the conference. And I understand why. Stanford knows that they can have cash cow rivalries here. The Duke rivalry would be amazing. It would be the battle of the brains. You know, the smartest kids in the nation at your games going back and forth. And you know that they're some of the biggest fans and some of the most creative fans as well, too. And then Stanford looks at a rival with a team like Wake Forest, with a team like Syracuse, also with North Carolina as well, too. You know, the list goes on and on. There's a lot of different variables to different, you know, rivalries that can occur with Stanford now, with Stanford, if they do join the ACC, and they'll still have their buddies Cal over in Berkeley to play them because Cal wants to be in the ACC as well too. But I honestly think that the ACC is mulling this situation because they probably do want Stanford a bit more than they want Cal. Cal has kind of played themselves down to being the perfect candidate for the Mountain West. Let's keep it real. they're at the point now to where being in the Mountain West wouldn't be too bad for them at the end of the day. Yeah, it's Cal University, but it's Cal Berkeley at the same time too. It's not like it's Cal and it's not like the USC and UCLA market. You know what I mean? And so pretty much you could say that Cal's a great establishment, but they've been carried for a long time by the conference. So now with the conference dissolving, they could go be their own man in the Mountain West. But going to the ACC, they wouldn't lose their rivalry with Stanford, but they wouldn't lose their rivalry with Stanford anyway, because you still can play games at the end of the year or the beginning of the year as your rivalry game, you know? So you have a situation where Stanford is willing to join the conference and not ask for the French benefits that everybody else is always begging for when they come to these conferences. Stanford has a very vast amount of donors, and it is a private school as well too. So they know that the recruiting will be at the best level it's ever been at going to the ACC on both sides of the ball, football and basketball. So I think that at the end of the day, this is a very, very smart move by Stanford to accept whatever the ACC is willing to offer them. You know, just accept whatever. We just want to be there. We want to make sure we don't get left out of the national scene. We're not worried about the money. We're worried about our school still being relevant. And we know that this is the perfect conference for us because this conference is a little bit different from the rest of the conferences that are power conferences. It's truly a student athlete situation in the ACC. You have to be a good student to be able to play on these teams. It's that simple. And Stanford is that type of situation. Cal is that type of situation. So they all fit each other very, very well. So let's go ahead and move forward and let's talk about Houston. Houston looking to make themselves a national power, moving to the Big 12. Can they achieve this? And I say this because we all know that the best basketball conference in the nation is the Big 12. And last year they had 4 teams at one point, majority of the year in the top 10. You know, and I think they had 3 of their schools as the number 1 team in the nation. I know Kansas was the number 1 team in the nation at one point. Texas was the number 1 team in the nation at one point. And I think Kansas State and TCU fell short of that achievement. I'm trying to think who was the 3rd team that possibly was the number 1 team in the nation. It doesn't matter. But pretty much they had a great conference last year. And I think and when you looked up, out of the 10 teams that were in conference, 8 of them were ranked. Yeah, 8 of them were ranked. And the bottom tier teams didn't even have losing records until they started playing in the conference. And it was crazy because it was Oklahoma of all teams. That was one of the bad teams in the league last year. And pretty much in basketball. Now, football is a different animal, but they beat up on each other every week in football as well, too. But Houston has been one of the dominant forces in the AAC. And at one point, they were a team that was in the top 10 for, you know, what they were doing during the season. They were getting big upsets and beating, you know, the best of the best from Texas and things like that. And kept falling short in just maybe a game against somebody like Cincinnati or something of that nature. But Houston showed the capabilities of being a team that should be on the national scene. But their conference kind of hindered that situation, all the conferences they've been in over the last 25 years. Because you have to understand that they were in the Conference USA for a long time as well, too. And this is the old Conference USA that housed Memphis and Louisville and Cincinnati and at one point West Virginia. So, you know, you have a very good history here with Houston being who they are. They went to the national championship back in 1983. They're a team that had the run and shoot offense that broke records in college football. So Houston is long overdue to be in a power conference. They truly are. But they had to make themselves a power school. And that's exactly what they've done in the last decade. They added a great coach on the hoop side. They added a great coach on the football side. Guys that have power school credibility. Okay. Sampson, Final Fours. That's all we got to say. And the coach and their football coach was pretty good over at West Virginia and left West Virginia to come to Houston. That should tell you a lot about who Houston is at this point. And them going to the Big 12 is one of the biggest statements this school has ever made. And I think that it's all for the best when it comes to Houston. Houston's going to be able to recruit and not have to oversell their school anymore. Houston's going to be able to have some of the best recruiting classes in the nation because they're now in a power conference. So they can be dual threats in each sport, in my opinion. But I think for sure, they're going to put the basketball conference on full tilt. They're really about to put the Big 12 basketball over the top next year with them coming in, and also with BYU coming in as well too. And then Cincinnati's showing up with you as well. And UCF is ascending into being a power on both sides as well too. So all this makes total sense that these schools moving to the Big 12 next year it's going to make the most sense. Moving to the Big 12 this year, it makes the most sense ever. And it's going to be a big year for that conference in both football and basketball. And Houston should be a main character in both. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and take our first commercial break. And when I get back, we're going to go ahead and break down some baseball. So you guys stay tuned. This is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Captain.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Captain, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we are back with the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. So let's go ahead, jump into some baseball, and we have Blue Crew Daily. Dodgers pull off another sweep and improve to 15-1 for August. Also extended their winning streak to 11 games. They start a 3-game series this weekend with the Marlins. The Marlins over here digging. They're desperate. They're trying to put themselves back in the mix to be in the playoff picture. They were at one point the number 1 wild card team. Even had a nice little lead over the Dodgers for a short moment there as well too. But now reality is set back in, and pretty much this will be okay. And here goes a quick announcement as well too. Since we're having a big weather issue out here in Southern California, the Angels, Padres, and Dodgers will all have double hitters tomorrow and Sunday so they can avoid the issues with the rain. So just a heads up, they're going to be having double hitters this weekend. It looks like that they're probably going to take Sunday off. So they're going to have double hitters tomorrow to avoid playing on Sunday. So that's what we're getting with that right there. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on. And real quick, we have the Royals who won earlier 4-3, and you have the Tigers up 3-1 right now in game one of that doubleheader. So you have the Dodgers absolutely crushing it right now. Lance Lynn had another successful game last night, wound up pitching 70 scoreless innings, gave up 4 hits. He only struck out 3 last night, but still, he didn't give up any runs. So that's exactly what they needed him to do. The Dodgers went ahead and had a team shutout yesterday. Evan Phillips was able to get his 18th save of the season. The win actually went to Caleb Ferguson last night because in the inning that the Dodgers got the lead, he was the pitcher. And of all people who won the game last night was Austin Barnes. Austin Barnes has been absolutely terrible this year. And everybody pretty much knows that. He has a batting average of 136 for the season. The guy only plays about every 5 days, okay? Because he's a spot catcher. So he's a backup catcher. He doesn't play much. And he hit his first home run of the season last night to get his total up to 7 RBIs and 6 runs. So that should just go to tell you that he's a guy that doesn't really play that much. But, Austin's been with the team for almost 8 years now. He's a guy that was a very versatile player when he got to the Dodgers, but as time is prolonged and things like that, he's just a good dugout guy from what I'm seeing right now. Max Muncy is still struggling as well too. It's crazy. Max Muncy hits 194, but has hit 28 home runs this year. But this is something that you're going to really have to fix by the time you get to the playoffs. Muncy's going to have to be better when they get to the playoffs, man. I don't care what nobody says. Muncy, this is really unacceptable, but he's hit 28 home runs. He has 76 RBIs, so it's hard to really argue, like, what's he doing. But you know that you can't really rely on the guy in a consistent manner. Now, the Dodgers are literally getting carried by Mookie Betts and Freeman at the moment because you got Mookie Betts about to enter the 300 club. Freddie Freeman is batting 335 right now and is looking to win the batting average title as well too, something that he's never gotten. He wants to win that badly. Then you got David Peralta, who's hitting the ball so well right now, and he's 277 on the year. And these are things that I look at. I'm like, okay, the Dodgers are looking really good at the top of the lineup. Will Smith batting 275, so that's good. Outman has raised up his average a bit as well too. He struggled a bit yesterday, but you can see that everything's coming together correctly for the Dodgers at this point. Tonight, they got a tough foe tonight in Alan Carter, who's going to be the pitcher tonight, but he's 5-10 on the season, which has been the struggle for the Marlins this year. But he pitched well his last game. He got a win, and he struck out 10 and only gave up a run on 5 hits and went the full 9 innings as well too. But they needed him to do that so they could win the game last week. So Alan Carter is a guy who struggled a bit, but he hasn't been getting the greatest run support either. So I think tonight what happens is that the Dodgers streak actually ends tonight. I think the Dodgers win the series, but the streak ends tonight. Okay, so let's go ahead with that. Let's go ahead and take ourselves into our next segment, and that's going to be the MLB Friday night. We got ourselves a full schedule tonight, plus a game. We got 16 games on the schedule, as I said before. Tomorrow will be about 18 games on the schedule because we're going to have 3 extra games because we have double hitters tomorrow. And they're in the West Coast, and this is so rare that they have West Coast double hitters because of a possible hurricane that's coming to California. But the thing is, it's really up the coast of California. It's more on the bottom of California. But all in all, we got a lot of great matchups this week, and I'm looking at them now. I do have series bets for you guys today as well too. I'm looking at Blue Jays Reds. This is a series matchup for both teams as they chase the playoffs. You have the Reds, who kind of got lucky this week because they didn't fall too far behind because the Brewers got swept this week. And then you got the Blue Jays, who are still 7.5 games out of first place and still what it looks like 5.5 games out of second place, and they kind of took some steps back. So this is a big weekend for both teams because they're keeping their playoff dreams alive. Toronto's in the playoffs now, but they're only up a half a game. And then you see the you see Toronto's only up a game and a half, and then you see the Reds find themselves back in the playoff picture. They jumped over Miami, who is in LA this weekend for a very important series. So, you know, you got Cincinnati, who's a game and a half behind San Francisco, and they're not too far behind. Then they're only 2 games behind Milwaukee right now. So that's a big series in itself. Then you also have a series that is always we're going to talk about it in a moment, but you got Yankees Red Sox. That's the biggest series in all of baseball. Don't matter what their records are. Giants Braves. That's a very integral series. That's very crucial for the Giants to keep their position and also to try to build some confidence against a really good team like the Braves. You got Brewers Rangers. This is a redemption series for the Brewers, who just got swept by the Dodgers. The Rangers have had their struggles with National League teams this year. So this is a good series in itself because you have a team on the bounce back, and a lot of people will probably believe that the Brewers will get cooked this weekend, but that will not be the case. Mariners Astros. This one is huge because the Mariners find themselves not too far behind the Astros. They find themselves playing some of the best baseball in baseball right now, and they're trying to catch the Astros, but they're really trying to catch on to one of these playoff spots. So right now they're lagging by 3 games to the Astros, but they're a half a game out of the playoffs right now. So this is a key, crucial series this weekend for both teams, but it's really more of a crucial series for Seattle as they can enter the playoff picture with a big weekend this weekend. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out in that. And then, as I said, we already got Miami and LA. I talked about that one today as well. And then we also have the last one I'm going to go over with you guys. This should be a good series. Quietly, the Diamondbacks and the Padres. This series right here will probably determine exactly what the Padres' next moves are going to be over the next few weeks because their season is really in doubt now, but they still have a slim chance at the playoff spot, but they got to pick up the winning. That's what it has to be. And the Diamondbacks are still in the race, but they're another team that has to pick up their winning. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. Let's go ahead and jump into the Red Sox and the Yankees. Now, the Red Sox and the Yankees tonight, this is going to be a really, really good game. You got the Yankees being a home dog tonight, 60-61. The first team in the East that's under 500 in some time now, since probably the first few weeks of the season. Then you have the Red Sox, 63-58. They're still chasing the playoff as well, too. They're about 2.5 games out of that playoff spot. So tonight you have a skinny dog in the Yankees because they do have Johnny Brito on the mound going against Brayan Bello. But to me, it's a 50-50 spot. And Yankees at the stadium plus money against the Red Sox, man, sign me up. I like the plus 105 in this spot tonight. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, we have ourselves the Braves and the Giants. The Giants come into this game tonight 64-57. The Braves are 78-42. The Braves hold the best record in all of baseball. The Giants have had a topsy-turvy season where has seen them look like world beaters and then see them look like a farm team. So right now, they're looking to have a big weekend so they can stay steady and keep their spots for the playoffs. So I have the Giants tonight actually winning this game against Spencer Strider. I have them winning the game tonight, and I truly do feel that this does wind up being a big, big moment for the Giants this weekend as they're ascending to the playoffs. The Braves don't really need to worry about winning so much right now. They really know that, hey, they'll probably win about 17 more games, okay? and they had about 6 more weeks. Okay, I think that they'll be a 95-win team. I don't think they're going to win 100 games. I'm going to keep it real with you. Even though they're only 22 games away from winning, even though it's only 22 games for that feat, I think that the Braves are going to start resting a little bit, relaxing a little bit, and not worrying so much about trying to make history. They want to win a World Series. That's way more important than winning 105 games. So I think this weekend is going to be a real trying weekend for the Braves because you have a Giants team that knows that they have to be 100% focused or they're going to lose out on their playoff spot. So with that, we're going to take the plus 200 on the Braves, and we move from there. All right, so we have ourselves the Brewers and the Rangers to wrap this thing up. We got a pretty good matchup tonight. You got Billy Woodruff going against Andrew Heaney. These are guys who are both coming back from extensive injuries and things like that over the last few years. So this is kind of a crapshoot game when you look at it, but you already know that this is a game that you should already just be saying to yourself, I'm going to just look at the scoreboard tonight because that's what type of game this is setting up to be. So how I feel in this spot, I feel like everybody's going to overplay the over. So I'm going to go ahead and take the under 8 here. And I think that's going to be a great play right there for a series that looks like it's going to be nothing but fireworks. So with that, that's going to be a wrap on my 3 key games for Friday night. So we will be back. We're going to do one more commercial. And when I come back, we're going to go ahead and get into talking tickets. I know you guys are getting excited because it's Friday. It's almost the weekend. And you know I got a bunch of tickets ready for you, right? So stay tuned. This is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, we're back with the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. So, yeah, as I always say, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. It is time for the show. Let's go ahead and jump into this. And just making sure I got my clients taken care of. Talking tickets. Let's talk about it. Up first, let's go ahead and jump into it. WNBA Super High Five tonight. We've been killing the WNBA lately, so no biggie there. We got +4 with the Wings tonight. Also doing the under 162.5 with the Mystics and the Fever. And then we have the -3 with the Dream. And then we also have the Storm money line +100. And then we wrap this thing up with the over 163.5 with the Liberty and the Mercury. So that's going to be our ticket for the WNBA tonight. Single what you like, and we move forward from there. Okay, we have ourselves the NFL Friday preseason double. I'm going to take a 4-1 ticket here. I'm going to take straight up winners, baby. No spreads, no nothing. We going straight for the win. We going for the kill. And Giants -160, and then the Bengals +225. You'll probably will never see anything like this during the NFL season, but since it's preseason, you'll see it tonight. So I feel like the Bengals will use their B squad to get themselves a good win tonight, and I also feel like the Giants will outlast the Panthers, who are in a evaluation mode. But they're also in a mode to where they're trying to make sure that everybody understands what they're doing out there, because they looked absolutely atrocious last week against the Jets. So we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into the MLB Series Bets for this weekend. I got the Reds plus 120. We got the Yanks minus 120. I got the Giants getting the upset plus 225. I got the Brewers getting the upset plus 155. Also got the Mariners getting the upset plus 155. And then I got the slim home dog and the Rockies with the plus 125. So that's going to be our MLB Series Bets for this week. All right, for this weekend, actually. Sorry about that. And we went 4-2 this week as well, too. Just to give you guys a heads up for what happened with Monday and Wednesday through Wednesday. All right, we got ourselves our biggest pick six of the year, which is sitting at 114-1. So all it takes is $10, and you got yourself a racky rack if you hit this bad boy. We got the Yankees plus 105. We got the Nats plus 1.5 minus 110. We got the game 2 of the Tigers and the Guardians over 9. We also have the Giants dog of the day plus 200. We got the under 8 with the Brewers and the Rangers. And then we finish up with the Rockies with the minus 1.5 plus 155. Home cooking over in Denver for that one. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. That's going to be our heavy ticket for today. And as I always like to say, small risk, big reward. So you put 20 on it, you get back 22. You would get back 22.28, 22.80. So just look at that math, man, and tell yourself you don't want to play around with this. This is a good ticket right here. And even $5 to get you 500, man. It truly will. So don't sleep on it. Don't sleep on it. All right, so we move forward. Let's go ahead and talk about another nice hefty ticket, a 20-1 late pick 4. I got the Angels plus 175 at the stadium tonight. Also got the over 8.5 with the D-backs and Padres tonight as well, too. And then we're going to play the A's under 8.5, Orioles and A's tonight. And then we're going to also go ahead and we're going to bet against the Dodgers. I know it looks crazy because I don't even think I've done this all year, but I think tonight we got to play it smart. The Dodgers got themselves a real kind of game to where they can kind of mess it off a little bit because they've played so well that if they had a letdown, it will possibly be tonight because you have a very hungry Marlins team, and the Dodgers are going about their business the way that they go about their business. So they're not concerned with winning and losing at this point. It's about being consistent. So tonight, this is always a game that can wind up being a trap game for a team because they're playing so well, and they've shaved the line down to a very manageable number for bettors tonight. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But that's going to be talking tickets for Friday, the 18th. Y'all thought I was going to say the 13th, huh? But all in all, I thank you guys so much for tuning in today. You guys are the absolute best. I'll be back to you on Monday. We got a whole bunch to talk about then, so you guys make sure you tune in for that. Also, we got NFL Bet Exchange up, the AFC and NFC North previews as well. I'm going to be breaking that down team by team as well, too. So you guys be on the lookout for that. Make sure you retweet, share, and also comment too, so I can hear your thoughts on what might possibly be your favorite team or the team that you're that you're signed up with to go ahead and win that future Super Bowl bet, So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. And I thank you guys so much for tuning in to both shows this afternoon. You guys are the absolute best. And as I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving. And this is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And I am Gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.